Queen Charlotte of Mecklenburg, the wife of King George III and the Queen of Great Britain and Ireland in the 1700s, and the inspiration in 1768 for the name of a new city in North Carolina. From the Uptown statue to the city's logo to even garbage cans and recycling bins, the Queen and her crown are everywhere. But the Queen City has a second identifying mark, the Hornet's Nest. Its backstory, though, isn't quite as clear.
Well, Lord Cornwallis, General Cornwallis, came here to Charlotte in the fall of 1780.
Charles Cornwallis, a leading general of the British Army during the Revolutionary War, led his troops to the area, but wasn't welcomed by the locals.
It didn't go well for Lord Cornwallis here in Charlotte.
A week after arriving, Cornwallis and his troops went to McIntyre Farm on Beatties Ford Road, looking for supplies.
It begins at the farm of Mr. McIntyre. McIntyre has fled because the British soldiers occupying Charlotte have come up Beatties Ford Road to seize the goods in his farm, and so they're slaughtering pigs and gathering up flour and barrels of whiskey and everything else they can find, and they disturb a hive of bees.
Those bees started attacking, and so too did the American patriots.
And there were bees stinging and there were bullets flying, and the British thought there was a much larger force than there actually was, and they hightailed it back to Charlotte. And this became known as the Battle of the Bees.
But it's what Cornwallis may or may not have said in the aftermath that has local historians a little perplexed.
It's a much-loved legend here in Charlotte that Lord Cornwallis called this area, it's a hornet's nest of rebellion. But the trouble is, we can't find that he ever actually said it or wrote it anywhere.
He may not have literally said that Charlotte was a hornet's nest of rebellion, but it's one of those stories that's come down to us that helps define who we are.
Lord Cornwallis may not have called this area Hornet's Nest, but he certainly would have agreed with the statement, and as far as Charlotte, North Carolina is concerned, he's kind of stuck with the statement.
Lord Cornwallis ended up surrendering the following year. The American Revolution was over, but it wasn't until the 1800s when references to the Hornet's Nest began appearing.
Now, in 1819, William Polk wrote a letter in which he describes a letter from a British officer referring to a hornet's nest.
Back in the Civil War, when Charlotteans put together a regiment to go off and fight, they called themselves the Hornet's Nest Rifles.
Towards the end of the century, the Hornet's name began appearing in athletics, with its first documented use coming in 1892. The earliest team baseball picture dates back to 1909. The next team to claim the name was Charlotte's first professional football team in the short-lived World Football League in 1974 and 75. Then, of course, there's the Hornets that we all know.
Warning, the shot, gone! Game over!
The original NBA Hornets were born in 1988, but after a falling out with the city and declining attendance, the team moved to New Orleans in 2002. The old Charlotte Coliseum may be long gone, but Hive Drive still exists. And when the New Orleans Hornets went through an ownership change and became the New Orleans Pelicans, there was only one thing left to do: bring the buzz back home.
And I'm pleased to announce that the Board of Governors has unanimously approved the Charlotte Bobcats application to change their name to the Charlotte Hornets, effective following the 2013-14 season.
The Hornets name isn't just for the basketball team. It's on everything from the county seal to schools, parks, antique car clubs, and locally produced beer. Even the annual Davidson-UNC Charlotte basketball game is billed as the Battle for the Hornet's Nest.
The Hornets are the logo for the police department. Take a look at CMPD. It's on the police cars. It's on the uniform patches. Even the Girl Scouts. It's the Hornet's Nest Council of Girl Scout Troops.
Monuments sitting alongside Beatties Ford Road mark the spot where the Battle of the Bees took place, but the farmhouse where it happened, still riddled with bullet holes, was torn down in the 1940s.
I suppose that's the price of growth. If the price is a 170-year-old farmhouse being leveled that no one lives in anymore, so be it.
A hornet's nest of rebellion may or may not have been said.
Whether Cornwallis said it or didn't say it, it's something that we are proud of, that we're folks who think for ourselves, we're folks that question authority, and we're folks that took action once upon a day to change our government.
But it's come to symbolize a city and the people living in it. I get the feeling Queen Charlotte would be proud. For Caroline Impact, I'm Jason Churches reporting.